Good afternoon. Okay, so here we are with podcast number 2. Just a little musical introduction. Further on down the road, yeah. Somebody's gonna hurt you like you're hurting me. Further on down that road, buddy. Somebody's gonna hurt you like you're hurting me. Further on down that road. Just you wait and see. You got to reap just what you sow. That old saying is true, yeah. You got to reap just what you sow, buddy. That old saying is true. 'Cause just like you mistreat someone, someone's gonna mistreat you. That's by a guy named Bobby Blue Bland, for those of you that might not know. Okay, so I just finished watching Jeff Sessions testify in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. I've already got it digested, but I need to go back over the transcripts and pick up all the different pieces where he missed points of logic, where he contradicted himself, where he said one thing and then a little bit later, under a different set of questions, did something completely different, completely opposite, and in essence contradicted himself. I will be posting, but it'll probably take me a few days on that on my blog, which, by the way, my blog is www.politicalbill1218.blogspot.com, and this is a companion piece to that. But today, this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk more about obstruction of justice. Now, James Comey testified last week and also submitted written testimony. And, you know, it's pretty obvious that Donald Trump attempted to have James Comey stop his investigation into Michael Flynn and his possible connections with Russia, with Russian officials. There are many things that point to this. First of all, that Trump asked everybody to leave the room, but asked James Comey to stay. And then Trump said to Comey, you know, I hope you can see your way to letting Michael Flynn go. He's a good guy. You know, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this thing go. And then, during James Comey's testimony last week, Idaho Senator Risch tried to make the point that the word hope was not a directive. Mr. Comey pointed out that he felt it was a directive. And then Mr. Comey also pointed out every time Mr. Risch came back to this that, you know, the word hope was a word. You know, as we learned in the Watergate hearings with reference to the transcripts being released ahead of the Watergate tapes, and then once the Watergate tapes were released, it became clear that, you know, what a word is versus the other forms of communication behind the word can be very, very different, you know. Body posture, tone of voice, facial expressions, the fact that Trump asked everybody to leave the room is a form of communication. Now, there's one thing that I missed up until a couple of days ago, and I wrote about it today. And it goes something like this. First of all, some spooky music. So, Monster Trump tells everybody to leave the room in the castle's main chamber. But it turns out that all of his minions, his bumbling boobs, are on the other side of a door to the main chamber, and in an anteroom, that door is next to a grandfather clock in the main chamber. And he's left alone with his victim, Comey. But you see, his one of his minions, Vampire Priebus, is a little over anxious. He wants to know what's happening there. He's licking his chops and drooling, and he's rubbing his hands together. And he opens the door because he wants to know what's going on. But what Mr. Comey sees when the door is open is not only Rance Priebus, but it's also all of the other minions standing behind him at the door. And they're all rubbing their hands and drooling. Okay? And Monster Trump tells him to close the door. He'll be done soon. Okay? Now, here's the point. Each one of those people, and by the way, I've obviously taken poetic license here, but in essence, allegedly this story is the case as put out there by James Comey. And I don't hear anybody disputing it. Okay? Now, the deal here is that every one of those people that were on the other side of that door need to be interviewed. And they need to be interviewed under sworn testimony, but most likely in private testimony so that they don't tip each other off as to what the questions would be. But there's definite questions that need to be asked here. You know, did they know what was going to be said? Did they know they were going to be asked to leave the room? That sort of a thing. Did they hear on the other side of the door what was being said, and if so, what it was? But here's the real point. Here's something that can really be built on here. Were they asked to leave the room by Trump? Now, for the sake of this presentation, we're gonna suppose that the answer is yes. So here's what an interview would look like. Were you asked to leave the Oval Office on February 14th after a national security meeting? Yes. Okay, so you were asked to leave the room. Yes. Okay. Well, since you were asked to leave the room, did you believe that you had any options open to you as to whether you left the room or not? Well, no. I believed I had to leave the room. Oh, okay. So even though it was a request, you took it as a directive. Now, here's the salient point. Senator Risch of Idaho tried to make the point that because Trump said he hoped that the investigation could be dropped, that it wasn't a directive. So therefore, if the same person who said hoped said to some people beforehand, please, I'd like you to please leave the room, then that's a request. That's not a directive. But these people treated it as a directive, and the reason is because it is a directive. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it, okay? So what Mr. Risch is saying is silly. What other people are saying as far as, oh, he's a neophyte, he doesn't know. This is a load of crap, okay? This guy is the bigliest big master of the art of the deal. He's made billions of dollars. He's lost billions of dollars too, okay, fine? But he's the best. He's huge, okay? So don't tell me that he doesn't know what he's doing when he tells these people or asks these people to leave the room. He knows damn well what he's doing. You know it, and I know it, and everybody else in the country knows it, except for maybe about 32% of the country, okay? Maybe it's 34% right now. So this is an important line of question that has to happen, along with what did these people know and why were they there on the other side of that door and that sort of thing. But these people can be used to show that the case that Senator Risch was making simply doesn't hold water. Anyway, Bill Sherman here signing off for this week. And please tune in next week for another podcast. And at that point, maybe we'll be ready to pick apart Jeff Sessions' testimony in front of the Senate today. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.